All right, hello folks. Welcome to the second hour of Epic Fest. Twice as wet as the first hour of Epic Fest. The lesson I learned in the first hour is dancers are not deterred by rain and poets are not deterred by construction noise. And now we're going to have to deal with a little bit of both of them because the rain and the construction noise are here. So what we're going to do right now is the Licton Springs Review publication party. We do one of these every year when it's time to release the Licton Springs Review. And even though I wanted to wait until right when we started today, this year's Licton Springs Review has actually been available for about 5 hours because I had to put it up on our website before I left this morning. So if you want to check out the full publication of this year's LSR, it is twice as long almost as last year's. We had more contributors. We were able to fit more in. Go to LictonSpringsReview.com. There are links to get it as a PDF or as an EPUB. We'd love to get as many of those out there as possible, and then we will have a link so you can actually buy copies of it in just a couple of days. Before we get started, I do want to thank this year's Licton Springs Review editors. They worked incredibly hard, partially because they had to work with me. As you can probably already tell, I'm super scattered. Ian DeVito, Danielle Hubbard, Teresa LaRue, and Skylar Lynn. They did amazing work. They were at all of your contributions. They also helped us restart some of our author panels. We were able to do 2 author panels this year, and change the whole format of our digital newsletter, which has been fantastic. So what you're going to get to experience right now is a selection of some of the artists who appear in the Licton Springs Review, talking about their art and their artistic process. Some of the writers in the Licton Springs Review actually sharing their work. And our very first artist up today is Darcy Bruno. Everyone give her a big round of applause.
I'm just going to do it like this so that I can pretend I'm a rock star. Thank you everyone for coming out. Good girls always bring their microphone condoms, so make sure you have one of those in your pocket at all times. Today we have the gallery open. I've been lucky enough to be in the work-study program and work at the campus gallery, which is a great resource for anybody who's an artist or in the art program, or just for people who are on campus and want to see what's going on. I think everyone has access to taking art classes here at North, and the teachers and the quality of the art that's coming out of this college tucked away here in the trees is really amazing. So if you get a chance, there's a great show in there of student art, and then a couple of doors down, this hallway down there, there's another little annex that's got some projects that we worked on. Shoes was the theme for 3D design this year. I am normally a painter. I've been a painter and an artist all my life. I didn't go to school until much later. I went to the San Francisco Art Institute in 2007 to 2009. And I'm still trying to finish my degree. So I'm in the AFA program here, and I started last year. And it's been really amazing. I never thought in my wildest dreams that I would be making sculpture in my living room, or a lot of the other things that I've had to do because of COVID, but it's pretty amazing what you can do with Zoom and having, good teachers give you good directions. And it's also been great because we've learned to make things out of stuff that you can kind of have around your own house. So I now have 3 bags of recycling materials in my kitchen, which are now my new art supplies. So I'm super excited about that. I have a couple sculptures in the gallery, and a print and a painting as well. And there's a lot of really fun stuff in there. Licton Springs Review was really exciting for me because I submitted something. The teachers put it out in an email and said, submit to this thing. And I thought, well, I'll try it. And so I got it every time, which was, thank you so much, very exciting. I don't know if I was the only one submitting or it was a lot. But anyway, it was a really boost for me to get into that publication. And I'm really excited to buy one. And I'm making all my relatives buy one as well. So hopefully your publication will get some good earned money to give to your wonderful employees. So Anyway, that's about all I have to say, except for I'm really happy to be here, excited to be part of the North happening, and can't wait to do some more. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Darcy. And I have to agree about, I mean, I'm in the English department, and so I should be just hyping us up, but the art department is really, really cool. Like, the instructors are cool. They always walk into meetings together like they're a gang. They're awesome. So you should absolutely check that program out. And while we will have books for sale, we do sell them at cost because actually all of you have already paid all of my employees. The student editors are paid, but they already got paid by your student fees, and then we want to make the journal as accessible to all of you as possible. Because I really want you to enjoy the work, including the work from our next reader, Joshua Wagenblast. You're up on stage.
Hello. Thank you for having me. Hello, can you hear me? Oh, there we go. Thank you for having me. Thank you for everybody at Lincoln Springs for putting that together, putting together a wonderful publication. I am a lover of poetry and all things writing, so I am happy to share a short poem with you guys today. This is entitled Regret. I'm just trying to see what my future holds, shape my life into the perfect mold, but it fights me at every turn, this misshapen design. Time is my friend and my enemy, granting me with space before sneaking up on me with something different than I foresaw. My past, the rugged stone, the product of a future lived imperfectly, now a relic of thoughts and desires. Jagged edges are cemented in memories, incapable of being smoothed by hypotheticals, while a hypothetical future is incapable of being smoothed by the wishes of the past. So I collect these troubled stones, and they bring weight to the present. Every decision, an unfrustrable marking, etched into the palette of my life. The direction of which is ever-changing, the future consistently uncertain. While I hope these stones, born of an imperfect mold, raptured by reason and regret, strengthens the resolve to accept a formidable future, a future of character and clarity. Thank you.
So thank you so much, James. So you know how they talk about multi-hyphenate artists who can like do a lot of different kinds of art? We have a lot of those artists in LSR, folks who are in the visual and the literary arts, which is awesome. But what we've never had before is someone who actually gets the slash in the designation of who they are to the Seattle colleges. Usually they're a student or faculty or alumni or staff. But our next reader is both a student of the Seattle Colleges District and faculty in the Seattle Colleges District. Lori Peck, you're our next reader. Come on up.
Like he said, I am a teacher here at Seattle Central. I teach at the Design Academy at Seattle Central. And this was a piece that I wrote in my free writing class that I'm really proud to say is the first printed piece. And I just appreciate you. The portal was entered through a mysterious door in the ceiling, in front of her parents' room. The string to pull the door open was just out of her 8-year-old grip, but her dad could easily pull it down and unfold the wooden ladder that was magically attached. He always went first up the stairs, and if he gave into the pleading puppy dog eyes she'd conjure, he'd allow her to climb up and crouch in the attic with him. The floor was a soft cotton candy pink. She longed to roll in it. It looked so delicious. But it contained glass, fiberglass to be precise, or Dad. So she settled just to look at it sparkling in the attic's low light. The air was always an amplified version of the season. Stale and hot if they were getting the summer clothes, or frigid if they were up there getting Christmas decorations. Her mom's wedding dress was always the first thing she went to, full of folded and yellowing lace, satin that was pressed abnormally stiff in an old box. There were graying baby shoes, boxes labeled college or home. A spider would sometimes interrupt her bliss and send her scurrying over to the safety by her dad. Her favorite to explore were the yearbooks. She loved finding the younger version of her dad, always the most handsome in the row of assembled smiling basketball players. He looked like a movie star in his senior picture. Evidence that she wasn't the only one who thought so was the endless amount of loopy female writing that covered the pages. She was never allowed to bring the books down from the attic, so she believed they were destined to stay in this airless vault for all eternity. She learned years later that they had been thrown out. However, she could see those images of her young dad whenever she smells a musty old book. In an instant, his happy, shining face is there right before her eyes.
Thank you so much, Lori. I really loved hearing the work. Because for me, I've been actually living with this work for most of the last 9 months as we've been getting the journal together, as I've been pulling stuff in. Now I actually get to hear it come alive. Like I've seen it on the page numerous times, and now I get to hear it actually voiced by the artist, which is awesome. And we're going to do another one of those, this time with a little bit of fiction from James Fiorito. You're our next reader.
How we all doing? So, quick story. When I got this, I got this as an email on May 10th, and I was working at the moment. And I got this, I was confused because this was a story that I did when I was in Seattle Promise as a high school student. And as I was reading it, I was super surprised because it's like, oh, I got published. So I told my coworker, and I showed him, and he's like, that's great. Are you going to finish your work? And I was like, I guess, yeah. I know, I'm very nervous. All right, I'm going to read a short section of it. And, 9 o'clock, 30 minutes left. Joe eyed the looming apartment complex with intent, only ever leaving his gaze to check the time on his cellular device. For the past 4 days, his life had been a ritualistic fervor, searching to find a needle in a suburban haystack. Despite what his superiors have said, there was more to this case, and Joe wasn't going to let it go easily. 9:10, 20 minutes late. The drowsiness started to hit Joe as he began to feel his eyes flutter into sleep, jolting up ever so frequently. He wondered, when was the last time he had a decent meal, feeling the emptiness in his stomach ache as minutes went by. In these quiet moments, Joe's mind slipped back to simpler times, most notably during the beginnings of his investigation. Unlike many of his peers, Joe's remarkable acuity to read people lended him to gaining successful evidence regarding widespread issues of tax fraud, missing people, and of course, recent infidelity. The words made him twitch, as if a bug just flew in front of him. It wasn't the word itself, far from it actually. He happened to get a lot of cases regarding cheating husbands and wives. He was used to the emotionally charged newlywed, bursting at the seams about her husband's late-night outgoings. Was a surprise to him about the night drives and the occasional visitor to the house without her knowledge. So what was the difference? It wasn't the case, he thought. It was him. His eyes darted to the phone, realizing the loss of time. He prayed to God he wasn't too late. 9:15, 15 minutes left. Joe sighed, feeling the emotional dread slowly subside as he allowed his mind to drift off once again. Joe should have known from the very beginning of his life he would become a voyeuristic attempt to peel back what many would say is a false hope. He didn't care. For him, this case meant more to him than anything in the world. He meant more to him.
So if you want to find out how that story ends, you're going to have to pick up a copy of the LSR 2022. So our next reader, I would like to thank, first of all, for saving me from massacring our names, making sure I pronounce it correctly. Charlotte Bourne, you are up next. Come on up.
Hello. I have two poems to share with you tonight that I wrote in my creative writing class here at North Seattle College. This first one was really fun for me to write because it was trying to write the shortest poem possible with the most meaning. It's called A Windy Meadow. Petals, dancing wind, transmitting music to each blade of grass, crashing muddled wreck, chaos bleeds into a song. This next one was also really fun for me to write. I didn't really have much of an agenda, I just kind of started writing, and this is what happened. It's called My River. Rivers are so perfectly at ease, never wanting to be overly loud, trying not to disturb the peace. Rivers seem settled atop the surface, underneath it's not so organized. Rivers are so perfectly at ease. Rivers will never freeze. They can't freeze. They keep flowing until they meet their end, trying not to disturb the peace. Rivers are strong, like mighty Hercules, currents tearing apart the rocks and sand. Rivers are anything but at ease. Rivers break apart to reach all seven seas, carving away at the miserable ground, trying to disturb the peace. Rivers are full of deadly disease, like the raging storm in a nimbus cloud. I am like a river, never at ease, disturbing this wonderful peace.
Thank you, Charlotte. I love that pairing because there are those times where we sit down and we write with intention, and those times where we sit down and write in order to find our intention. And both of those can be really, really great places to be. All right, our next reader to come up to the stage is Kelly Rones. Come on up, give her a big hand.
Hi, I'm Kelly. I'm gonna try to find it real quick. I just had it up like a second ago and then got nervous and started closing out of tabs. I'm glad you guys made it to Epic Fest, and I'll just like preface my poem by saying I don't really like it, but the main reason I don't like it is because it's kind of about like a tragic event that happened to like me and my biological family, but you wouldn't really be able to tell that from the poem because it's really short. I was also in the creative writing class, and shout out to Molly Tenenbaum. She's an amazing teacher. She's wonderful. Also, this is like off topic, but she's like a customer at where I work. I sell like window shades. It's super random. And I'm always like, do you remember me? Yeah, so this is like modeled after a poem by Charles Simic. I'm pretty sure he's a poet because I don't know how to give credit to where it's due, but it's a blessing and a curse modeled after Charles Simic. I came here in a bottle of anger. I saw the hair as gold as straw. The sound of a dumbbell bouncing off pale skin carried the weight of a child's gentle cry, sang the sweet song of birds in spring. I saw the pink flowers full of nectar, ripened from the water that drips off a peach. I don't want to go. I hear you, but I know. Thank you.
Well, and at that mention of Molly Tenenbaum, I have to point you all towards the LSR Monthly, which is our digital newsletter. It's sort of a companion to our annual publication, because today's LSR Monthly is 100% devoted to Molly Tenenbaum, who is retiring. So we're very sad, but we're very happy for Molly. And if you want to learn more about Molly, read some of her poetry, see her performing music, an interview with her, check out the LSR Monthly, which you can also find on our website. So we are going to shift gears from literary back to visual arts now. Gail, compare. Are you out there? There you are. Come on, Gail.
You know, I really appreciate what you said about the writing being the work that you do to find your voice about the writing. And the truth of the matter is that drawing is largely the same way. This is my second semester here at North. I started in the winter, and my first class was drawing with Hilda Martinson, an absolutely fabulous teacher. And she gave me the courage to kind of tap into things that were extremely difficult and painful for me to look at, because she challenged us to make 18 by 24 portraits of ourselves, not just a visual representation, but a window into the soul. And I'm sure that myself, like many of you, had a real problem dealing with the stresses and the issues surrounding COVID. I mean, just by show of hands, how many people washed their Amazon packages? Right. How many people washed their packages of food that Instacart delivered? I know I did. How many of you were stuck in a house, working at home, no touch with the outside world, totally shut off, with just you and your extended family in a small house in a petri dish? So that was what I tapped into in my drawing, the long and winding road, or the 5 circles of existential crisis. And I know that sounds crazy, like a crazy name for something, but I just want to read to you something about existential crisis. There's 5 components of it. One is a crisis of freedom and responsibility. Show of hands? Anybody? How about the crisis of mortality and death? The isolation and connectedness, meaning and meaninglessness, the crisis of emotion, experiences. And so these are all the emotions that I tried to tackle in my drawing that looks at myself through the eyes of someone who is aging, that isn't quite sure what the next chapter is, or even if there is a next chapter. I have to say I had more than 1 or 2 brushes with living my own Hamlet soliloquy. So, thank you. Yeah, I hope you go inside the art department and take a look at the exhibit. There's a lot of people that put themselves out there, that laid bare or tried to lay bare their soul for you to see. On a lighter note, another piece that's in Licton Springs Review is Sunflower. Sunflower is a ring I did in sterling silver with red jasper that I cut myself. And the reason I chose that, this was right before Russia invaded, the reason for it was actually the fact that sunflowers are happy, sunflowers are hopeful. How many people love Van Gogh's Sunflowers? So, thank you again, and I appreciate Lipton Springs Review and the opportunity to be up here. It's a great honor. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gail. That part about the existential crisis that we're all living through together really resonated with me. I remember right as the lockdown hit, I was teaching a class in dystopian fiction. Then we decided to live through dystopia. But I told the students, like, yeah, times are really tough right now because of we're in a crisis. But times of crisis are also times of change. This is a time where you can actually move forward, and there are things to do with it, so that you can find the existential crisis we're living through is also an engine of art is a lovely, lovely thing. Thank you for that. All right, our next reader, Michelle Budd, please come on up to the stage.
Hello everyone, my name is Michelle. This is a villanelle that I wrote, also in my creative writing class. This is called The Internal Spiral of Time Ticking, Ticking, Ticking. 32,850 days I was never promised, but every day I pass, I carry with me. Will I even make it to 90? Wouldn't days lived just become days missed? Only surviving to 32,850. Each day added being more and more heavy. I pray the lips of temptation won't be the only ones I've kissed. But every mistake past I carry within me. My anxiety asks if in the end will he tell me, completely honest, that I was not worth 32,850. What creeps into a midnight mind could be deadly, but I know to wait for the sun to paint the sky like an artist. Every day and every night I carry with me. I'm afraid this poem invites too much pity, and I am not one to grab a guiding hand in darkness. 32,850. With every day past, will I ever become me?
Thank you, Michelle. I remember when we read that poem, we were talking about it among the editors, and we love the fact that it used numbers as in a way that we tend to just focus on words in poetry, and that it was so seamless with the rest of the poem around it as well. It was really lovely. So our next reader, we just have 2 left, unless there's anyone here who has not checked in with me yet, in which case you should. But our next reader who has checked in with me, Eli Dialborough. Come on up, give him a hand.
Hi team, thanks for having me. Let me pull this up. Thank you. I have been enrolled in science classes here, but my first love is writing. So I'll read to you. I've got 2 very short stories. One's called The Minister of Love, which I'll start with. Here we go. The burger place doesn't accept cash. Papa Cyrus disagrees with this policy. Cash is king, he says, as a thin fold of bills appears in his hand. What happens if the internet goes out tomorrow? You're funked. He smiles and winks, and you smile back as you put his order in along with your card. I love you. That's extra just for you. He gives you a $1 tip. You put it in the communal tip jar in the back room. When you return, he's opened a snuff jar of weed on the counter. You can't seem to find his papers. You busy yourself organizing nothing. Do you smoke? Not right now, Papa Cyrus, not during work. When you look up, he's gone, although he's left his paraphernalia. You move it all to the bench next to his traveling bags. When his burger's ready, he's returned to the bench. I love you. Extra napkins? You'd forgotten he asked. When you bring these, he says he loves you again. He says you're a light, to continue to grow and keep becoming who you're becoming. He looks into your eyes as he speaks, and you can't look away. Listen to his smile under his fox gray mustache. As he eats on the bench outside, you take out your dinner and sit at a table in the empty shop. You watch his Panama hat through the window, the way his layers of silk rustle with the breeze. You pause when he pauses, chew when he chews. When Papa Cyrus leaves, he forgets his trash on the bench, his lighter too. You bring his lighter to him and he tells you he loves you again. You tell him you love him too. His aromatic citrus earth scent lingers long after he's followed your hand-drawn map to the nearest storage unit. Thank you. And then real quick, if it loads, if it doesn't load, then I'll read it. All right, it's not loading on my phone. So that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Eli. I think Eli, is your mask up here? Come on. Oh, that's not yours? Okay. So, something that Eli said really pricked my ears up, which is, I'm taking science classes here, but I still love writing. This is, I think, one of the most important things about performing arts and creative arts is that it doesn't have to be the thing that you think you're going to do for a living, because it's a thing that just gives you life. And so I highly encourage business majors, scientists, please come, give us your art, come to creative writing classes, come to workshops. I love when we connect those things together. The other thing I really love is that the Linton Springs Review is not limited to the folks who are here on campus, though of course that's an important part of it. I love having faculty and staff and students work all together, but it just warms my heart when alumni continue to send in work. And the next person is an alumni who continues to send in amazing work. Our last reader of the day, Joey Shadlowski, come on up.
Hello. My name is Joey. And I want to thank Linton Springs Review for keeping it alive, keeping art alive. Thanks, Jim, and also to all the editors. And also, thanks for selecting this poem. It means a lot to me. And also thank you for selecting the two photographs that I have, the black and white Honolulu Chinatown, which was an old stomping grounds for me, where I chased my water dragon dreams, and Baldwin Beach in Maui, which is where my Holga camera with Kodak Portafilm meets a dream landscape. So they're also poetry to me, in art. And art is everything. And art saved me. The first time art saved me, I realized art for the first time, oddly enough, was when I was a junior at Edexo Valley High School in California. And that's actually where I met my husband for the first time, and even though we didn't really know it, we knew of each other, and it took 30 years later for us to come together again, and I thought, oh my God, you were the geeky guy that pushed around the AV cart and set up the movies, and oh, you were the stoner hippie chick with the beads and flowers in her hair and the fringe jacket, and you always smelled like patchouli. So, and it was his ex that actually fixed us up together, and he was like, and we've been together ever since. It's going on 20 years now. Yeah, that was art. That was art, and that's part of it, how art saved me. And art wasn't enough. We can talk about this poem, Untitled Anger, and I don't know about you, I have a hard time titling my work, poetry. It just sort of comes up and it's like untitled, and it's Untitled Anger. And that, where I found art wasn't enough, I turned that anger inside, until it ate at me. And then I drank at it, I drugged at it, until that nearly killed me. But being in recovery now for 31 years, I've embarked on a road that has led me to my real self, my actual self, and the person that I always wanted to be. And that helps me create even more art, which is actually quite fabulous. So this is Untitled Anger. Hello, anger. Hello, you. Hello, me. I know you. We've known each other for a long time. I know you more than you think about. Really, because this is me. So hard to say, to talk about. This is the one thing we never talk about. When the first time you were hurt, how did you turn that in? When you were told to turn it off, and you've been turning that into you, into me, for so long. Tell me, where does it hurt now? Right.
It would appear that Joey reached everyone so much that the clouds started to cry a little bit harder right there. It has been a challenging day of Epic Fest, has it not? Well, let's give a big round of applause to all of our artists and readers. Real great. I just want to take a minute to thank all the contributors who made the LSR this year possible. I want to thank our student editors. I'd like to thank student leadership who helps fund this effort every year. We keep coming back and asking for money. They keep saying yes. I want to thank Arts, Humanities, and Social Sciences, which also help support the LSR. And hopefully it can keep going and growing much into the future. I'm really looking forward next year to especially expanding some of our author panels. So that's actually the end of the Lipton Springs Review publication party. But you shouldn't go anywhere, because we have something more for you. And I realize I have a piece of paper over here. So we have a very special featured reader for you today. And this is someone who is not only an incredibly talented writer, a wonderful person, also a colleague of mine in the English department here. Greg November is a Seattle-based writer and teacher. In addition to teaching English and film at North Seattle College, right here, for the last 11 years, he was a 2021 Jack Straw writer and is a senior submissions reader for New England Review. He was a finalist for the 2020 Kurt Johnson Prose Award for Fiction and runner-up for the Missouri Review's 2021 Miller Audio Prize. He also teaches at Highline College and will be teaching at Hugo House in the fall. His stories have most recently appeared in Boulevard, Carve, Hawaii Pacific Review, Epiphany, Three Elements, 34th Parallel, and Juked, among other places. He has an MFA from UC Irvine. Greg November, please come on up the stage.
Thank you, Jim. Hi, everybody. If I knock this thing of water over, we all win a free taco. So that's something to pay attention to. So as Jim said, I am an English instructor here, and I also write and publish my own short stories, and I'm going to read a few short pieces today. The first thing I'm going to read is a story that I wrote during a period in my life. It was just after my first child was born, and my good friend, who is also an English instructor here, Danny Blackman, we had this thing, yay, Danny. We had this thing where we were sending each other a page of new words a day. And it didn't matter if the words were good. Oftentimes we didn't really even read each other's words. It was just the accountability of having someone to send them to. And so every day, I wrote at least a page, 250 to 500 new words every day. And it turned out, we did this for a few months, and it turned out, this was like 5 or 6 years ago, more than that, and it turned out to be one of the most fruitful moments in my life. I am still going back to things that I wrote during that period to find material for new stories. So the first thing I'm going to read today is, it came from that period. It's a story called Bird Logic. And the first few sentences of this story I wrote without having any idea what I was writing. I just wrote them just to write them. And then at some point during the writing of the story, I discovered what I wanted the story to be about. And it's a story, it's one of, it's a story that it's close to my heart. It's a story I like a lot. You don't have to like it as much as I do, but hopefully you enjoy it a little bit. It's called Bird Logic. No one had a solution for the pigeons, so Lerman took the largest net he could find and maneuvered between our desks, arms extended above his head. Caw, he squawked, shaking the net. Caw. That, Gina said, is the sound that a crow makes. Lerman dropped the net at his side. They're all birds. He resumed his stalking while the rest of us watched, sitting on our desks, knees at chins. The pigeons flocked and flapped and gurgled. A few congregated on the printer, and some others head-butted the rubber doorstop that had propped open the emergency exit all week because someone burned popcorn in the microwave. One lone sentinel perched on the shelf that held our sales trophies and stared at me. He swiveled so his hind feathers brushed against my trophy, the one I received for closing the Bold Health deal, a 2N redundant system for all of Bold's facilities, which included 6 hospitals, a birthing center, a trauma center, an emergency clinic, and an experimental oncology consortium. 32 megs in all for a gross profit of nearly $1 million. It was the biggest deal anyone had closed that year, including Lerman's offshore drilling operation and Gina's contract with the Navy. And now, some pigeon, a mostly gray bird with 2 green streaks down its back, ass-fondled my trophy. Caw, squawked Lerman. At that point, the boss came in. His name is Harry Larry. It's actually Herman Larry, but Harry Larry is what we call him. Listen, Harry Larry said, kicking at pigeons. What's going on in here? Gina, why is Lerman stomping around like that? Is that the net that hangs in our hallway? Lerman stopped and looked offended. He said, you see all the pigeons, Harry Larry, don't you? The pigeons, I said, aren't the problem. As usual, no one listened to me. When I'd suggested that turning a fire hose on the rooftop aviary was a bad idea, no one listened. When I said that wouldn't cause the pigeons to fly away, no one listened. When I said blasting them with water might in fact drive them through the windows we kept cracked all summer because the building lacked even rudimentary air conditioning, no one listened. Not even closing the biggest deal in 13 months changed that. They're shitting on our paperwork, someone said. One of them ate my cold call list, someone else said. Harry Larry, you need to do something, Lerman said. This net is for the birds. I'm walking out this door, Harry Larry said, and when I come back, I want to see my sales force selling. Selling, do you hear me? Not chasing birds, selling. When he was gone, the pigeons gained in number. Birds from adjacent rooftop aviaries must have reached or received some call to action. While they descended on our building through our windows, I took the opportunity to grab Gina's attention. Follow me to the closet, I said. No. Follow me, it's important. I'm not going. It's important. What's happening? Norman said, looking up from his net. What are you doing? Peltz asked me to go to the closet with him, Gina said. Wait, the closet? Like, the closet? Yes, she said. Peltz? Listen, I said, there's a lot of birds in here. Can't you see that? Oh, I can see that, Norman said. I can see that big time. What I can't see, what I can't quite wrap my net around, is why you've asked my wife to go to the closet with you. I left right then, Gina and Lerman and the rest, all those pigeons, and I went to the closet myself. I shut the door and stood in the dark. I felt around and touched the coats that hung on the hooks. I touched some of the empty hooks. I palpated the drywall until my fingers found the spot. Then I pushed the trap door open and walked through, and then I was in the much, much cooler other room. The captain looked up from his console. What are you doing here? There were too many pigeons, I said, rubbing my hands together for warmth. You have to go back, the captain said. You can't be here. This isn't right. No, you can't be here. The captain returned to his typing, which I'd interrupted when I entered the room from the closet. Two other officers, neither of which I recognized, entered the room from its other door. Who's he? One of the new officers said. They were each holding lattes or coffees of some sort in paper cups, and they took alternating sips. When one sipped, the other brought his cup down, raising it as soon as his companion lowered his own. The captain did not look up from his console. He's not staying. No one said there'd be so many pigeons, I said. If you remain here another second, the captain said, I will have you scrubbed. I'll go, I said. I know my responsibilities, but no one told me there would be so many pigeons. It wasn't in any of the literature. We know, the captain said, sounding bored, flipping through the mass of papers on his desk. Do you think we'd be able to recruit any but the most recklessly insane if we let everyone know what it was really like over there? Pigeons? You don't know the half of it. It's positively absurd over there. That's why we need as much intel as possible. If we can crack their code, maybe some advancements can be made. No one listens to reason, I said. No one listens to anything. Doyle, Broyle, the captain said, indicating the two coffee-drinking officers. If Mr. Peltz is still standing there when I finish this sentence, I want you to scrub him. Back on the stuffy, feathery sales floor, I found that the pigeons had grown in number again. There were now upwards of 100 birds, flapping and crapping and yapping, squawking and jutting and pecking and prancing. Some, the ones that had maybe been there the longest, gathered by our glass case sales trophies and talked shit to the hardware. The pigeons didn't care. Their values were not our values. The sales team had retreated to another room, the break room or the bathroom, or maybe even Harry Larry's office. I didn't know. Lerman and his net were gone. Gina was gone. The receptionists and logistics coordinators were gone. It was a room full of pigeons. I gestured toward the open windows. Fly, I commanded. Fly away. I waved my arms toward the windows, but that only seemed to embolden the birds. They squawked at me, their defiance clear. More pigeons came. They formed groups, establishing alliances, grudges, axes to grind. They shouted and teased and bullied and berated, operating by some bird logic, clear to every beating heart in the room but mine. Some birds remained quiet, looking on in fear. I tried to make eye contact. Are you our hope? But they only gawked. We didn't speak one another's language. The pigeons tore into everything we worked so hard to construct. The deals, the customer list, the tchotchkes on our desks, all pecked over and pigeon soiled. I sat at my desk, having to shoo away 2 pecking pigeons from my chair, and listened to the alien sounds around me. The captain's invocations kept me rooted. He was right. Some good could come of all this if we could just crack the code. if we could get to the heart of it and find out why is no one listening. I closed my eyes. A pigeon pecked my shoe, another the back of my hand. I felt blood well, but even still, I didn't open my eyes. More than trust, or luck, or skill, hope is all we have left. It will have to be enough. The captain sent me to do a job, and do it I will. Hope is the final remaining virtue, at least for those of us selling backup power systems in the Pigeon City. Okay, so I have one more short piece to read for you all. This one is called Bruce, and I actually wrote it as part of a Licton Springs Review contest last year sometime. Yeah, in the fall. And this is my first day back at North in 2.5 years, actually. So I thought it would be kind of appropriate to make my return to campus and read a story that I wrote for the Lit Journal here. So this one is called Bruce. In the days since we left Earth, Moroni has complained that he don't have anything good to read. Yeah, okay, I tell him, we left in a rush, right? We hardly had time to pack clothing and enough food for the journey, let alone reading material. Be happy we have granola, I tell Moroni, toilet paper. Listen, Moroni says, turning from the control panel and leveling one of his infamous stink eyes at me. Don't tread on me with that sunshine and rainbows. Suddenly, Moroni stopped speaking. He looks past me toward the flight deck entrance. What is that? Through the door, a turtle creeps into the flight deck. That's Bruce, I say. Bruce. Yeah, Bruce, my pet turtle. You brought a turtle? I brought a turtle, yes. Of all you brought your turtle, and I didn't have time to grab a few books? Things were exploding around us. Moroni unstraps, grabs his cane from the hook, and limps toward the entrance. My hip is killing me, he says. I'm headed back to the bunk. You and Bruce can fly this stupid ship. Unstrapping myself, I lift Bruce into Moroni's vacated seat and then restrap. I hit the thrusters and the ship lunges forward. Hopefully, I say to Bruce, he'll be in a better mood when we get to the colony and he sees the beautiful gardens everyone painted. Bruce pulls his head into his shell. Yeah, I say, there's just no telling with Moroni.
Greg, I love that question, bird logic of what are we supposed to do when no one will listen to sense? That's something that also seems very much of the moment. So, thank you very much, Greg. That actually brings an end to hour 2 of Epic Fest. Again, much better than hour 1. Hopefully hour 3 will be better. So we're going to shut down the live stream for this hour, take a couple minutes to shift around on stage, and then come back with some music at 2. So don't go very far away. Maybe just go over to the art gallery, check out some student art, then come back out here for some music a little bit. Thanks so much, guys.